I'm working on my own racing game called Apex Rush that has racing, drifting, and stunting. And today I want to share some new and exciting features that have made the game 10 times better since last time. So previously when you hit a jump with a car and it began spinning in mid-air, the camera would follow that rotation, making it pretty much impossible to see where you're landing. This has finally been fixed and it made the gameplay feel so much better. It now takes the velocity of the car mesh and rotates the camera according to where in the world the car is traveling. Alright, so I can show it here in this little test thing that I just built. So for example, if I spin now in midair, the camera always stays behind the vehicle. You know, it can spin around like that, even if I do like a front flip here. Stays behind perfectly, no artifacts, and in the loop, we're actually able to follow the car in the loop now. Previously, it would like glitch into the loop. I think I have some footage of it that I can show, which is why with the old system I always had to place like a first-person camera swapper going into the loop. But obviously with this camera now, everything just tracks perfectly. So you know, we can fly through here. When I go up, as you can see, the camera always tilts up as well. And you know, when you go down, I can show it here. Follows you up, follows the angle down. And just as a more extreme example, I can do this right here. Just spin around like crazy, and as you can see, it just follows wherever I'm traveling. Yeah, with a car, which is great. This also made it so you don't actually have to manually adjust the camera as much using free look, but I'm still going to add a upgraded free look system so you can still, you know, peek around corners and whatnot as you're driving. This camera system also made drifting a lot easier, especially with seeing what angle you're holding, which will then help, of course, to score more points and hit targets later on in the drift mode. Speaking of drifting, the new drift car is now finished. Modeled by 7HC once again, he did an amazing job on this car and also made a bunch of customizable parts that you'll be able to unlock and tune the car with, but more on that in just a minute. One thing I wanted to test for the race car was yaw controls in mid-air. Previously, you were only able to pitch the car in mid-air, roll the car in mid-air, but you can now also turn sideways like this. So the new yaw control is pretty straightforward. Just hold spacebar, you can spin around. It's quite easy to also just change direction and level out again. Very, very smooth, like interpolation of, oh, as you can see, you can do stuff like this now. Just absolutely save where you're flying. Before, if you sort of like got off track, you were screwed. Like there was nothing you could do to save it. And like for stuff like this where you're, you know, landing in wall rides, you have to level out, land straight. Okay, I keep building these small sections like this just to try things out. But yeah, as you can see right there, I could sort of level it out sideways, and now that we can do yaw controls, we can do half pipes. So we can actually do sick transfers just like that. Dude, that was so clean. And yeah, this whole time I have not moved my left hand on the mouse at all, since the camera just does the job perfectly. Like if I'm reversing like this, it swaps the view for going forward, it snaps it back. Like it's starting to feel really, really smooth to drive around and do flips, which was not really possible at all before, you know. Let me see if we can take this loop again. Absolutely beautiful. Just like that. As I'm test building a lot of tracks at the moment, I noticed that I'm missing ways to gain speed quickly. So it only made sense to add a boost obstacle that gives you more speed. Being an arcade game, this just fit perfectly. Now, fun thing about it is that you can also place the boosters in mid-air, and it can sort of be used to hover forwards in the sky to create some interesting tracks. And if you guys have some more ideas of like dynamic obstacles similar to boosts that you would like to see me add to the game, then yeah, let me know down in the comments. So with the new drift car finished, I began working on a level where you can now customize the look of the car. Now, I'm kind of tired of seeing racing games where you always customize the car in a garage or just like a blank studio space. So I started working on making a small city area where you can customize the car in the parking lot, and then you're also able to test drive it in this area to sort of see how the car looks. It's far from finished right now, but I began by placing out this simple road, which is actually really fun to drift around on. I then made blockouts for the level, which is basically temporary cubes and shapes where things will be added later to sort of give you an idea of how the end result is going to be looking like. So I first added the buildings around the whole road. I made this temporary plaza in the middle with some benches and whatnot, and lastly I added some poles. If you know me, poles are my nemesis in every racing game that I play. I mean, I just recently in GTA 5 deleted every single pole from the map just so I can stunt without them. But obviously I had to add them in this game because it would just look weird without any poles. So I went into Blender and I modeled this quick low poly light pole. I'm not really that good at modeling in Blender. I've only been doing it for a couple months. I still need to learn a little bit more about like UV editing and texturing. But yeah, I placed them all out and they actually fit in pretty well with the world. I also tried this new software called Treat, where you can pretty quickly make like custom trees, just tweaking a bunch of parameters, and you can add your own leaf textures, customize them quite a bit. So I made these very simple like birch trees and just one with a pink color, kind of like a cherry blossom tree, and just placed them out to sort of get a feel for the level, so these might be swapped out to, yeah, something else later on. I then found this asset pack on the marketplace, which has some really nice street props that just fit the style of my game, so I used them to sort of populate some details around the map, just to speed up the process a little bit. Now, I could have done this for the buildings as well. There's a ton of nice looking buildings out there, but I do want to learn more about modeling, and I'm going to try and model all the buildings in this world myself. I'm going to go out for a walk, take a bunch of inspiration pictures of some, yeah, apartments in my area, and maybe try and model some of those in Blender. But of course, the main thing that'll be done in this level is customizing your car. That has been requested from all of you guys to add since the start of making this game. We kept running into crashes where I just clicked something in the UI and the game just exploded. There were some weird collision issues happening whenever the car parts were swapped, but I finally managed to fix that. So it's finally working now, and then we can begin adding more stuff to it as well. But yeah, as you can see, we can just go into front bumper, click through all the parts, we can look around, zoom. It's very, very smooth to control. So I'm just gonna max it out. There's the front bumper. Let's check out the rear bumper options. Okay, I'm gonna go for the more aggressive one to match the front one. We can do the fenders. Now, the fenders is basically like a slight wide body customization, so it would make sense to have the car width increase as well, like the tire width, of course, going out with the wide body here. So I'm gonna look into and see if I can sort of do that with like an offset or something. And then we have the hood. We can of course just go to here, customize that. Let's go for the max option. Let's pick some side skirts. We'll go for those. Rear wings, I think we have quite a few options. Yeah, there's like 5 to pick from. We're gonna go for probably not the biggest wing. Let's go for this one. Headlights. Oh yeah, these are really cool actually. So you have these basic ones, and then you have these ones. These are actually pretty nice. I'm not really sure which one I like the most. I think these look a bit more aggressive, which I kind of like for this car. And then we also have the rear lights, or the tail lights, and you can sort of go for these more like digital looking ones, or these ones. And then we actually have interior options as well, so you can swap the seats, for example, to more of a sport option. The steering wheel I still need to fix. As you can see, when I swap to this one, this thing kind of penetrates through it, so I need to fix that. But yeah, I can change that, and of course also toggle the roll cage in here as well. And then you can just go up here, click test drive, and then you're on your way. And then you can just drift around this little area over here, check it out. Obviously later on you're also going to be able to customize the paint for the car, certain sections as well, so you can select paint for like the hood, the roof, the rims, of course. Gonna be adding that. So yeah, paint customization yet to be added. But dude, this new drift cam is so nice as well, where it just follows you perfectly. Kind of reminds me of like a set of Corsa's drift cam in a way. Yeah, I just thought it was more fun to add like a little city to, you know, customize the car in like this, instead of just having a garage, because now you can also just test it out and sort of cruise around. Yeah, super cool to have this system set up now and ready to go, because we can basically just replicate the same system for all of the other cars later on, which will have yeah, customizable parts like this one. Working with Simon on this project, he explained how data assets work and how I can implement them in this system, so he taught me a lot, which made setting this whole system up a lot easier. And the way the parts will be unlocked is yet to be decided. It's either gonna be by completing tracks or challenges, or earning enough score on a specific track, and then use that score, which is either gonna be like a currency or something, to then unlock the part. I still need to figure out how that's gonna work. There's also a new car on the way, which is gonna be a custom NSX. It's almost finished by 7HC. I think the windows, the roof, and the interior still needs to be added, but it's looking really good so far. I'm really pumped to begin working on the handling for this car. So it's gonna be pretty different from the main race car that is a 4-wheel drive. This race car is gonna be rear-wheel drive, so it's gonna be able to still go fast, but it's gonna be, I think, slipping through corners a bit more. So it's gonna be, yeah, pretty fun to work on. I also had to start setting a UI design for this game. Starting out for the customized UI, still very simple, but I had to render out all the individual pieces in Blender, create custom buttons and thumbnails, which swaps out when you click through the parts. UIs have been pretty tricky to work with, but yeah, I guess we'll be constantly improving them as we go along with the development of this game. Of course, also working on the UI for the track builder. Here I had to render out an image for every single track piece with and without the guardrails, which took quite a long time. I then create all the graphics for them, send those over to Simon, who will then add them into the track builder. Here's a mock-up of how it's gonna look when it's finished. Kind of, there's still some more things to add, like controls and obviously some more UI stuff. up and down on the screen. But I want it to look really clean and of course simple to use. Simon, for those of you who don't know, is who's helping me build out this track building system, since it's way too complicated for me to do. And yeah, he's been making some really good progress on that, so we'll be sharing a bit more on the track builder in the next update video. So as you can tell, I've just mainly been focusing on making the core parts of the game feel perfect before I continue working on, you know, making all the levels and all the tracks for the campaign mode and stuff like that. But with all of these new quality of life upgrades I've made, I'd say I'm now pretty ready to begin working on some more details for the cars, which includes engine sounds, impact effects, and various sound effects, and the steering wheel spinning. I still need to add that. It's just static all the time. So as you can imagine, there's still a lot of work to be done before the game goes up on Steam. But I do have a goal to be finished sometime in Q1 of 2024. Hopefully. I'm gonna try, but I can't promise anything. At the end of the day, I just want to release something that I'm really proud of and I feel is ready to release. But for the next video, the Steam page will be set up and you guys will be able to wishlist the game, which will help me out a lot. So until then, I'll get back to work and I'll bring you guys another update on Apex Rush very soon. So until then, take care.